All right. Today is 24th of August 2022 and it's the Independence Day of Ukraine. And so yeah, Ukraine, happy Independence Day, and hopefully you're going to win this war very quickly, or as quickly as it's possible. Hopefully Russia will be deterred once and for all from ever trying to do anything on your territory, and hopefully there will be no more deaths of people of Ukraine, because nobody deserved it, that's for sure. And the only kind who deserves this is Putin and his surrounding, not just peaceful Ukrainian people. So definitely wishing all the best to Ukrainian people. That's for sure. And I guess we can start with like a few good news, positive news. Basically, United States today announced that they are giving even more help to Ukraine. Another pack of $3 billion worth of various equipment, various things that are going to be delivered to Ukraine was announced today, which is great. And really hope that both US and Europe and UK would deliver all the necessary equipment that Ukraine needs, that Ukraine wants, that Ukraine asks for, so on and so forth. So yeah. As is becoming a tradition, the second I'm starting a stream, my cat starts to meow and scratch the doors, which is fun. Okay, yeah. So United States is gonna be adding some help to Ukraine, new pack, and it's gonna be delivered. When it's gonna be delivered, by the way? I don't think they've said when. Anyway, it's been a interesting poll in Ukraine about the feelings towards Russians and also Belarusians, and that's pretty how to put it, pretty sad to me personally, being from Belarus and being against this regime, liking Ukraine a lot. Once again, stating on many occasions that it's one and only country, like in post-USSR bloc, that is actually good. The only country in this whole region that I was even thinking about, like ever living in, and basically the fact that half of the people in Ukraine right now thinks that all Belarusians are cunts, and only 34% are sort of neutral, and this dropped from April 2022, dropped quite significantly. That's basically another door that's been closed, more or less, which is just sad. This is just sad. I mean, it's not sad that this is how Ukrainians think. I mean, it is sad because there are reasons why Ukrainians started to think like that, and yeah, you can see that like year before 67% were positive towards Belarus and 27 neutral, and then a year later, obviously everything has changed. Only 22%. It's positive towards Russians. Like you can understand that even like in 2018, I'm even kind of even surprised that even in 2018, half of the people in Ukraine were still pro-Russian when Russia annexed Crimea and started the war in Donbass and Lugansk regions. So this is actually kind of surprising, the like thirst statistics, and but this is just sad. Because yeah, if before this war, before 24th of February, like the nationalism in Ukraine was like, especially like ultra nationalism, was very minor, very minor. And as you can see, even in 2018, like only 23% were kind of hostile towards Russians, and now, yeah, now everything's changed. And once again, like it's really hard, like when you're trying to talk like to or like just when I'm like checking, for example, something on Twitter, and how certain Ukrainians like think, like they do not understand what it means to live in a really dictatorship state. They're just saying like, yeah, why don't you basically go and go and overthrow the dictator, which is basically the same as saying like to German people, like why didn't you, those at least German people who were against obviously Hitler and against fascism, like why didn't you go and overthrow fucking Hitler? Or I don't know, in North Korea, for example, like why don't you go and overthrow the fucking Kim, whatever the fuck he is? It's like, yeah, that's a cool fucking idea, but this is not how it works. Especially not without the help of outside world. And it seems like Ukrainians are fucking those Ukrainians, those who are ultra. Well, this is not ultra, but like very nationalistic and very hostile towards even Belarus. It's like they seem to forget that they are right now afloat, right? Simply because US actually helped them. US and UK mainly, but mostly US helped them. 2020 Belarusian election, nobody helped us because there's not such a big country, not such an important country. Obviously, Ukraine is a big producer of grains of various sorts. It's a big country, like economically wise, and obviously population is like 5 times more than Belarus, 40 something million versus like 8 point something million. So once again, like nobody helped Belarus, like nobody like supplied us arms, guns, wherever. And it's really even stupid to suggest like people should somehow, when every person in like Belarus that's been in opposition was either exiled or jailed. So like even from the organizational standpoint, it's like almost impossible to organize right now. And again, there are no arms inside of the country, basically, like very, very minor exceptions. And so how are you supposed to overthrow the regime? It's like I just don't get it. Like when I'm trying to, or when I'm like noticing people like spit out some garbage, I'm like, do you not like think through these things? Like this is, you without US weapons would be right now under Russian occupation. Yeah, like you would be still trying to fight, I'm sure, but shit ton more people would be dead, a lot more territory would be captured, and like you're lucky that US stepped in. But seems like you don't gonna follow this logic and don't apply it to Belarus in this case, because it's also under occupation, both Russian, because there are a lot of military occupied Belarusian territory, and also under occupation of the fucking regime. I'm literally like, I'm pissed because I'm pissed at my country, and certain people are pissed at me that I don't do enough based on this sort of research and yeah, polls, which is just like I'm already unhappy about where I am, basically where I'm living, and the fact that I have the passport of this absolutely fucking atrocious country. And now one country that I thought is a good country is also saying to me that I'm a fucking piece of shit. Like, amazing. Great. That really helps a lot. Anyway, started well and then went into fucking rant. Well, nothing new. I actually thought that this stream and this episode might actually be shorter, smaller in size, but I'm not sure. Now I have, once again, way too many news and tabs. There's this big. Let's just skip to next news. There's this big factory, Grodno Azot. Azot means nitrogen, right? Yeah. That creates like fertilizers, nitrogen fertilizers, and apparently right now it's like barely working. Apparently on 4th of August there was like a planned renovation, and some workers basically were reporting that trains with the tanks like don't leave the factory. Apparently the higher ups and like managers, CEOs, wherever of the factory, were basically taking things from the like factory halls, basically everything that they've produced, and just storing it in the tanks in trains already. But those trains didn't go anywhere. They were just sitting, basically waiting for fucking nothing. And that's because Europe is blocking this kind of thing, because most of what this factory was producing was being sold into Central and Western Europe. So right now it's like barely selling anything, or maybe even like blocked completely, which is once again just showing just how brain dead of a cunt the mustache fucking dictator is, because he couldn't even think like 2 steps ahead that the economy is like deeply entrenched into, like, especially those very important sort of main factories in Belarus. Most of them, or even like all of them, are nationalized, and they kind of produce quite a lot of they give jobs to quite a lot of workers, but most of them are oriented for Europe. Basically, they sell their goods to Europe, and now most of them are fucked. So this cunt didn't even fucking think 2 steps ahead, which is just phenomenal leadership. Just a little thing while we're on the topic of a fucking mustache cunt. Apparently, there was a news, like, it's not a news, it's just a story from the past, that when Lukashenko was appointed as like at his first basically kolkhoz collective. I don't know. I think kolkhoz is like a known term, right? I want to say that kolkhoz for collective farming, right? Yeah, it is like a kolkhoz. It's a word in English already. So yeah, back when like 1987, so before like Belarus became a Belarus, when it was still in USSR, this cunt was appointed as like a director of this kolkhoz, and apparently he beat up several of the workers there quite on a regular basis. Apparently, those who were on tractors, like working as a tractorist, I think we call it, right? Driver of a tractor, and mechanics, machine operators. I think he beat up what was like 7 people or something like that, and yet he was never basically trialed for any of that. There was no like case. Oh, thank you, appreciate it a lot. There was never like any case for him created in like whoever whoever at the time was creating any freaking cases or anything like that. It's just I just don't get how it freaking happens. But yeah, that's how it is. That's the fucking Khan that later became president of Belarus, later became dictator of Belarus, and that's how he started. So yeah. Russia Z. Yeah, Russia Z. Do you believe in God? I do not believe in God. I do not. This is a complicated topic, the gods and all this shit. Let's put it that way. I definitely don't believe in whatever fucking church is telling. Definitely not that kind of a God. That's for sure. We can definitely I can definitely say that. Okay. Russian arms sales dropped by 6 times. So in 2022, apparently there was like this forum, like just the exhibition, basically Army 2022, and Russian Federation sold weapons for like 390 million, 400 million basically dollars, while a year before they've sold it for like $2 billion. I'm assuming they probably don't have a lot. They probably don't have a lot to sell right now because their manufacturing is kind of shit out of luck right now, and probably not a lot of people want to buy their arms because people just noticed how ineffective it is and just how shit it is during this war in Ukraine. Just a little quick note. We're just going to speed up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like everything right now in Russia, the whole economy, whole sectors of economies are dropping from the cliff, basically. Shoigu, this is the Minister of Defense. I can't like read it without like fucking just smirking. Like Ministry of Offense, it should be Sergei Shoigu, said that Russia had basically stopped its advancements in Ukraine to minimize the amount of victims of civilians. While UN reports more than 13,000 people died or were wounded at the beginning, from the beginning of this war. So I can't, nothing to say here, just a fucking cunt who lies and doesn't even fucking have any remorse or anything like that. Just a piece of shit. Okay. Just a little news in Riga. There's this monument for glorifying Red Army, and it's being demolished. And I don't know, like it's a little sad because it's a little sad in a sense. Just this, from the architectural point of view, I understand what it kind of symbolizes because obviously Baltic states were under occupation of Russia as they see it, and I'm assuming that's how it was. Haven't lived in those states. I'm not sure exactly how all the people think about it, but since those people don't want to do anything with fucking Russia, I can understand this. But just from the architectural standpoint of view, it's kind of sad that pieces of art being demolished just like that. I would rather prefer like a relocation of things like that in a like separate area and just like have it there as, once again, like a reminder of what art is and so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. President Erdogan apparently said that Russia is required by international law to leave Crimea and give it back to Ukraine. This is something insane. I didn't think this would ever happen because Turkey is trying to play like this game of we kind of support Russia, or like we're kind of dealing with Russia, but we don't really. We will follow the rule of the law. We will follow the sanctions and so on and so forth, but not really. So it's very interesting that, and we're selling at the same time. We're selling drones to Ukraine and some other arms, weapons, and at the same time we're gonna buy things from Russia as well. Yeah, they were playing an interesting game, and it's interesting that Erdogan is actually like saying directly exactly this. It's pretty cool. All right, kind of big news in like oppositionist basically sphere, opposition, Russian opposition, because there was one guy who was known for his like opposition, for being in opposition to Putin basically, and so on and so forth, being like anti-war and so on and so forth. Roizman, Evgeny Roizman, who was also mayor of Yekaterinburg, and he was still staying in Russia. He decided that that's the case. That's how he gonna be doing it, and now he's jailed. He was basically like very last, I think, big opposition figure in Russia who's been still staying in Russia and who hasn't been jailed. And now today he was put in jail. And that's the thing. And a lot of obviously people who were able to escape from Russia, obviously noting this, and and some people are noting exactly what's going on in Russia right now. That in Russia, for mass murder, you're gonna get governmental basically awards or honors, yeah, and for trying to stop the war, you're being put into jail. So it's just sad reality of things in Russia right now. All right. Germany, like a lot of countries, obviously congratulated Ukraine with Independence Day. Wished everything that they could, well, whatever, and Germany delivered out of the promised 9% of Panzer howitzers and 7% of MLRS. Nothing else, apparently. But I don't think it's true. Actually, I think Leopard. I think they delivered few Leopards. I think so. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, a lot of German people probably don't like it, but I mean that's the reality. Germany has been extremely slow in the delivery of weapons, and yeah. All right. This is the prices of electricity apparently in Europe right now, which is quite insane. But that's the price they have to pay right now for, first of all, not sanctioning Russia back in 2014, and second, for not taking care of their own energy independence. If they want to be dependent on a fucking authoritarian country and just buy cheap gas and oil and be happy about it, well, this shit can happen if you don't have independence. That's just the way it is. Daily prices, is it daily price? Day ahead. Average day ahead market prices. For electricity, 500 basically in Finland, 400 in Sweden, 320 in Norway, UK 630, Ireland 500, Germany 600, France 600, Spain interestingly 180. I'm interested in why Spain. Spain is not particularly dependent apparently on Russian gas, I'm assuming mostly, right? But then the rest of the countries, yeah, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Austria, it's all like Italy, all like 600, Malta, Greece, all like 600, Latvia, all like 600 euros, basically 550, 600. Poland is lower, 390, and Turkey 190 as well. But once again, this is the price you have to pay for not being independent in your own energy resources, not investing more into renewables, not investing more into nuclear stations, so on and so forth. Like, that's just fucking stupid what Europe was doing in the past 8 years, and yeah, this is the price they have to pay. Ukraine is paying it right now with actual like lives of people. We've ruined cities, devastation across giant portions of Ukraine, and if European citizens have to pay with higher energy taxes or just energy prices, well, once again, maybe they will fucking think and elect officials that would actually prioritize your own production of energy instead of being dependent on countries like Russia or whatever, like Saudi Arabia for that matter, for oil or something like that. If even after this crisis, no basic no changes will be made and nothing will be addressed, well, I'm gonna be really questioning fucking abilities, brain capacity, and thinking abilities of politicians in Europe. So yeah, going on. Okay. Last in the last episode last week, I was talking about the explosions near Gomel in the airfield Zabrovka, and governmental mass media, basically governmental controlled media, didn't really talk about it. And that was, I'm pretty sure, either diversion or direct attack of Ukrainians on this airfield, where apparently Russians are storing quite a lot of equipment, and Lukashenko is just trying to he's just trying to like ignore it, as if like, well, if I'm gonna ignore it long enough, maybe something will change, which is just stupid. But once again, it shows what kind of a leader in giant air quotes this cunt actually is. So yeah, just moving on. Don't want to fucking talk about it. About Erdogan, we talked before. Yeah, it's like just a little thing about visas that apparently Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Latvia said that it would be easier for Belarusians to get like a residence permit than Russians, and that like humanitarian visas will be also still in place. So yeah. Then let's talk quickly. Let's talk quickly about the murder of Dugina, Daria Dugina, which is really interesting because FSB, Russian, basically like intel services, intelligence, basically said like after 2 days, I think, they've basically said that they know who did it, and of course it was Ukrainian. It was Ukrainian woman with a daughter, who presumably, if we were to believe FSB, this lady was working for Azov, which is this organization, Polk Azov, that in Russia basically equaled to terrorist organization, which is just absurd. They could be like nationalists or something like that, but terrorist organization, that's a bit fucking stretch. And of course, this woman, this lady who apparently bombed the car of Dugina, was of course from Azov, which is like already like really. And then they found, again, giant air quotes, found like her basically, what is it, like her identity, like certificate of identity, and it's been photoshopped, quite poorly photoshopped. People in Twitter already like analyzed that image that they've posted, and even I know photoshopped quite well, like all right level. Even I understand when things like, I don't know, like a um, clone tool was used or stamp tools, things like that. It's like they're not even fucking trying. And also, like, seriously, a woman with a fucking 12 years old child came to Russia with like Ukrainian plates on their car. They rented apartment apparently in the same building where this Dugina lived, which is like a really kind of secure and top sort of building in one of the many top like buildings in Russia with like security in Moscow with like security and again like Intel services also like paying attention to those houses because there's a lot of like higher up fucking people live there. And that woman apparently with her daughter lived there for a month. And because FSB published this whole information in just 2 days, so we're presuming that FSB knew about all of that, right? So the lady was there for a month and FSB didn't do anything about it, even though they knew, presumably, that that's like at least like an agent of Ukraine or something like that. This is just so fucking. And then that lady was able to escape to Estonia, obviously a country that probably will not like give her sort of to Russia, but Russia never like put any request to Estonia to return this individual, and apparently for like Interpol, for example, or something like that. And apparently, this lady once again she changed like number plate, license plate, as well in her car. So once again, like all of this is going on. FSB is telling us like this is us like in general to the world. So all of this was happening, and we did not pay attention to her at all. We didn't do anything. Like if anything, by saying all of this, they're basically saying that they are absolutely incompetent organization, absolutely incompetent, because all of those red flags were popping up and they didn't do anything. And then this lady, presumably, was able to kill, once again, Russian propagandist. But, and they're saying that this is like a Ukrainian who's done this. But this is just so brain dead. Like, I don't even understand on what kind of public this is like aimed at, because it makes zero fucking sense. Because prior to this explosion, I, for example, didn't know at all who that fucking cunt is. I didn't know about her father, who's apparently, once again, like a propagandist ideologist, but like third, fourth tier. Like, nobody basically who's like, I don't know, 20, 30, even maybe like 30, 40 even years old. They don't fucking know about these people. These are not like top propagandists that could be like actual targets. Like Solovyov, like fucking Kiselyov, Simonyan, those kind of fucking cunts. These people, this is so brain dead. And obviously, anyone who's smart enough to put 2 plus 2 together probably thinks that this is actually the murder done by FSB themselves, either to gain like some trust and respect back from Putin because they fucked up totally the invasion of Ukraine, and so they're not really right now on good terms with Kremlin. So either they're doing this for that reason, or they're doing it for actually 2 reasons combined. Sort of like yes, this is like to kind of show that we kind of can actually track people quickly, we can actually solve cases, blah blah blah, but also maybe to light the fire once again, propagandist fire and fire under like ultra nationalists in Russia, for example, because which I hopefully will get to. Russian propaganda is tanking, like on TV. People don't watch it anymore. People just don't watch, even in Russia, people don't want to watch propaganda garbage anymore. And so with these murders, with these explosions, so on and so forth, maybe FSB is trying to basically reignite hatred towards Ukrainians, hatred towards Ukraine in general, want to like reignite passion in some sort. So yeah. All right, yeah. So that's basically it. This is just some absolute dog shit from Russian FSB. Absolute dog shit. Another news. It's not news. It's just a very weird thought of some lady. I don't know. No, I think we're gonna skip this shit. We're gonna skip this shit. News: a cunt, this fucking dictator whose territory is being used to attack Ukraine, is actually wishing Ukraine peaceful skies. Like, this is just such a level of hypocrisy. I don't think Putin is fucking wishing Ukraine peaceful skies, and yet this cunt is doing that, and this is just something out of this fucking world, and it's actually on the president.gov website. This is just wow. Such level of hypocrisy is, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen this shit ever. Right. Okay, Yuri Shevchuk, leader of the rock band DDT in Russia, was actually fined for like 50,000 rubles basically for his remarks at his concert that motherland is not the ass of the president that you need to fucking kiss. This is what he said during his concert in Ufa, I think, and he got like a little like a protocol basically from policemen right after the concert, but they didn't find him, and they didn't basically they did not ask him to join in court, and didn't do any fucking legal procedures basically against him, and now they've done it. So that's really interesting, because all he said was that once again, motherland is not the ass of the fucking president. Not fucking. It's my motherland is not the ass of the president that you need to all the time kiss and rub or something like that. Motherland is a poor grandma at like a train station, let's say, who's selling like potatoes, and he didn't really say anything that controversial or offensive or anything like that, which is once again really interesting that he at first didn't get any no arrest, no nothing, and later again they didn't arrest him, but they fined him later on. So that's just something that in the 1990s or even before that, they like in the 1980s, 85, at that time, basically rock bands were those who the government, who the powerful people feared the most, basically because they were not afraid to tell the truth. They were singing songs about important things. It was Shevchuk, it was DDT, it was Kino, Tsoi, it was many more people from the rock bands, rock people, and 30 years later, it's like nothing fucking has changed. It's still rock bands. It is still people who can speak freely, who can express themselves through their art, music in this case, and it is these people who can influence other people and who's the fucking officials Kremlin afraid the most. Still, apparently, nothing has changed in fucking 30 years, which is kind of sad, to be honest. All right, another news is the export of the grains from Ukraine. Some things have changed. Some, at least, cargo ships have been now going from the ports of Ukraine. However, it's not really enough, not nearly enough, because apparently about 600,000 tons of grains right now were already exported from Ukrainian ports. However, up to 18 million tons are still in the warehouses. So it's not even like 10%. It's not enough at all. And yeah, it's both unfortunate because obviously that can exacerbate hunger in many regions of the world, but also it means that Ukraine doesn't get money that they can from this grain that is just sitting there. And apparently, there's also another kind of worrisome sort of piece of news is that right now Ukraine is in the or will be soon in the process of getting another like 10 million tons of corn in this case, and if those basically warehouses will be still, occupied by other grain, they don't have any more storage where to store this corn and other grains, which is also a problem because obviously, if it rains, it can fucking get wet, get rotten, and you can't sell it. It gets to waste. So obviously, it can be another quite big problem. So I really hope that they can speed up the processes of exporting as much grain as they can, because it's been always a big part of Ukraine's economy, of Ukraine's income, and right now they need money, obviously, during the war. Okay. UK imports no fuel from Russia for the first time on record. That's really interesting. Imports of goods from Russia fell to 33 million in June, which is not much at all. And fuel imports fell by 500 million, 100% compared to the average for the previous 12 months. That's really interesting and really cool that UK is one of those countries in Europe that can actually, or was able actually, to not be totally dependent on Russia for gas and oil and so on and so forth. And so they quite expeditiously cut off Russia from their own energy sector, which is great news, obviously, for UK, in a sense that they would not be reliant on absolutely unreliable partner. That's really good on UK. Really amazing stuff. Okay, we already talked that United States will grant another $3 billion worth of military help. So, okay. Just some memes from Ukrainian memes forces. This one, I think, really cool one. Putin tries to pop the balloon of Ukraine and actually pops itself. All right. Okay, so now we're going back to things that we did not talk about in the past stream, but also a few new stuff. Actually, we might be good. We might be good on track. Because right now it's 50 minutes in. I'm reckoning about next 50 minutes we're gonna be able to cover all the topics that we have for today. Moscow restaurants attendance is lowest in 5 years, and we're talking about years with coronavirus included. That's another sector of the Russian economy that's been and in future will be obviously quite devastated by this war, by the implications of this war, obviously, because people don't have, probably, I reckon, don't have enough money to spend on fucking restaurants right now. I would assume that's like one of the biggest reasons. Yeah, and also because foreign people, foreign businessmen, and tourists don't really go to Moscow anymore, or at least not in the quantities that they've visited it before. Yeah, that's quite. By the way, that's quite significant. Like 10-15% in certain cases. In June and July, attendance of Moscow restaurants was kind of growing, but yeah. But yeah, in August it went down 10%, which is, yeah. In some it's like 15 to 20% less than expected. So I'm assuming they like compare it to previous years or previous months even of this year. So yeah, that's gonna be another sector. And now let's talk about the sector that's been really in the shits. Automotive industry, transportation in Russia is basically dead. I've just yesterday I've seen the news that in Belarus they're selling some Lada car for $40,000. $40,000. That's insane. That's like, only recently I've watched Doug Demura on YouTube, and he was saying that in the United States right now the average price of the car is around 40 like $2,000. So in Belarus they're selling fucking Lada, which is like low level, like fucking Renault or like something like that, for 40K. Like, who the fuck is gonna buy it? And I think they've built only 800 of them. So they're building right now from the company who's been selling like thousands and thousands of cars to the company who's building less cars than some like brands like fucking Ferrari or Lamborghini. This is a total collapse of Russian automotive industry. There are not like 96% drop of sales of just passenger cars. That's just dead end industry. That's it. They can't buy. They don't produce anything by themselves. Even those factories with the cars that have been sort of alright, like again, like this Lada or something like that. It was a joint venture with Renault, with Fiat, I think, and I think Renault and Fiat, right, or something like that. And now that those countries and those manufacturers basically exited this deal. Yes, okay, they have still the factory and so on, so forth, but they will not have electrical components that they need. They will not have anti-braking system, like stabilizing system. They will not have even airbags. We've talked about it in previous episodes. So that's just dead. While in Europe, we're talking about like Euro 5, Euro 6 standards. Apparently in Russia, they've allowed those cars to be Euro 2 standards. So it means that if you buy that car, you will not be able to drive it to anywhere basically besides Russia. You will not be able to drive that car into Europe, for example. Even probably to Asia either. So that's that. Dead. Just dead industry. And this industry employed quite a lot of people. And right now, I think they're still being paid to some extent. I'm not sure, because often like instead of firing people, those big corporations, Russian factories, so on so forth, nationalized one, to create this view that we are like socially responsible corporations, responsible factories, social responsible government in general. We're not going to fire people completely, so we're not going to leave them out of the job at all, but we're going to drastically reduce their salary, for example, or they're going to work, instead of like 5-6 days, they're going to work like 3 days a week, and we're going to pay sort of the salary that reflects that. So we're going to pay not like, let's just say like, instead of like $700, we're going to pay them $350 or $300. They're going to work less, or they're going to work the same but like just for lower salary. Depends how it's done. But we're not going to fire them, so we're not going to like create this spike in statistics, in the national statistic of unemployment, but in reality people are still being unemployed, basically unemployed, or some of them unemployed, or some of them just partially employed, even though like in the statistics on a national level it's not going to be reported properly. So that's that. That's just basically death of Russian automotive industry. And wait, I was definitely, oh yeah, this one, these two. Automotive insurers already can't find proper replacement parts, spare parts. About 10% of clients already, that was reported a week ago on 17th of August 2022. About 10% of clients don't basically wait for repairs. They just take money and just leave it. And that's already, we're in August right now. We're in August right now, and the sanctions haven't been even applied for that long to Russia. And once again, already the manufacturing side of car business in Russia dead, sales dead, basically dead. Like 10% of sales what it was before, like year before, for example. This is just a dead market already. And now even insurers can't properly repair cars, because now they have to wait like months and months for some parts, and those parts are way more expensive, like 2, 3, 4, up to like 10 times more expensive than it was before the beginning of this war. So yeah. 20% more expensive though the insurance have become. 20% clients have upped the money that they're insured on. Yeah, up to 30 to 30, yeah, about 30% more expensive parts on average, which means that if on average spare parts are more expensive 30%, then like some things can be like up to 60, 80, 100, 200%, and some could be like similar price or whatever. So even that that market is already experiencing really, really tough times. And China is basically the sole importers of, well, China is exporting cars and Russia is importing them. Supplier, basically. China is basically the last supplier of cars into Russia. And yeah, in the second quarter of 2022, there've been imported 27,000 new foreign cars. 80% is Chinese. 80%. While in the first quarter, it was just 28%. Now it's 81. So it's a giant leap. 3 times. Basically. 3 times more. Yeah. And then Korea with just 7%. So it's just like Cherry, Geely, Exceed, these types of brands, and then some Korean brands, which not really specified which one. Yeah, this is just once again insane, really insane. And this is once again something that Kremlin, basically Putin and Kremlin, didn't think through at all. They just don't understand just how much Russia is dependent on all the rest of the world, because they live in their fucking mansions that cost like billions of dollars. They're so fucking far removed from the reality of living in actual Russia that they don't even understand. They don't even fucking understand this. Yeah. So that's quite something. All right, that's just a big kind of a story about this whole automotive industry in Russia and its absolute collapse. And it's even, this is once again just so we clear. Right now, it's been like a day ago, 6 months of war, of Russian war against Ukraine, just 6 months, and the sanctions were working, like properly working for like what, like 3 4 months maximum. It's not even like Europe hasn't even banned totally like gas and oil. So there's even some money flowing into Russia still. I don't even want to think how it's gonna be when everything stops. When I kind of want to think about it, because maybe then people will realize that Russian government's actually trash and sold them big fucking fat lie, and maybe they will start revolting against those cunts. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Um, yeah. Next one. Russians are starting to buy less clothes. Sales dropped by 40%. Sales of clothes, shoes, and accessories dropped since February by 40%, almost half of it, right? And what's even more interesting, or well, it's not interesting, it's sad for just regular Russian people, is that a lot of brands have decided to quit, and brands like Zara, Massimo Dutti, H&M, Adidas, Uniqlo, and other fashion retailers, they've all exited Russia. Which is like, listen, actually in Belarus we didn't. No, I think we did have like one or two basically stores from Zara and like maybe one on H&M. Not sure really, but when you're like in Europe and I don't know visiting some city, you go into something like H&M or something like that. There's always like something decent there you can find. There's like just some really nice kind of stores in general. Nice selection all the time, and to see those things exiting the country of Russia, that's 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 a big sort of punch in the gut, really, because it's just like it's been like 20 years basically, like 10 years since Russian people could actually buy like decent clothes, not that expensive, quite a decent quality, very good selection, almost always like you have the sizes that you need, for example, in those like big brands. And now it's been all like poof, washed away, just because some cunt in fucking Kremlin decided that he's a fucking amazing strategist. And now apparently people are searching more for secondhand in a secondhand market. 2.5 times secondhand market raised once again since the invasion. Yeah, it's kind of sad if we're speaking strictly from like perspective of just normal Russian people. Quite sad. Okay. Last week we were talking about the fact that certain European countries, especially countries from Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, even if like Finland, apparently, want to ban visas for Russian people, and actually even nullify visas that's been already issued to them. And now, the what's his name? What's his deputy? I guess. Okay, parliamentarian Ivan Sukharyov in Russia um, basically proposed to proposed to basically stripped from the citizenship and forbid the entrance into the country to Russian people who are like criticizing Kremlin. So right now, like just that would be just an interesting fucking situation if somebody in Lithuania would be criticizing Russians, not Russians, but like Kremlin and corrupt fucking fucking government and oligarchs and so on and so forth. They would get stripped out from visa, for example, stripped from their even like resident permit or something like that, and then they would be also stripped of their Russian citizenship because they've done this. That would be really interesting. And what the fuck that person has to do? I don't understand. I don't know. I don't have an answer for this. But that's just a situation that could happen. Now, very interesting. Yeah. Well, once again, we've been talking about automotive industry, but I didn't know this. United States forbid to export into Russia 507 types of different goods, including whatever, including different things with the price of more than $1,000, like luxury, basically luxury things, which is really interesting. European Union. I didn't notice. Did European Union forbid to import into Russia, or export into Russia, goods more expensive than $300 euros. Home appliances that cost more than 750 euros. Cameras and that kind of stuff, more than 1,000 euros. Which is like a lot of things. A lot of things are in this category. Wow. That's like not even luxury, because once again, like home appliances that more than 750 euros, or like video and photo cameras that cost more than 1,000 euro. That's a lot of things. Like if you're talking about cameras, especially like photo video, almost everything that's new right now is like more than 1,000 euros. Holy shit! I didn't know that. Wow. I mean, obviously, money, like almost all of the Russian banks are under sanctions. SWIFT doesn't work. Europe and United States have blocked basically supplies of banknotes of euros and dollars, and transportation, once again, doesn't work really. Russian ships cannot enter European or else ports. Obviously, planes are Russian planes forbidden from the skies above Europe. I think all the Europe right now. Wow. I mean, I kind of knew all of this, but just like this sort of luxury thing, it's not even luxury. Fucking hell. Wow. Wow. That like this particular thing about this sort of luxury in air quotes, which is again not even that luxury. Yeah, cars that are more expensive than 50k and motorcycles that more expensive than 5k euros. Yeah, sort of luxury, but once again, when fucking Lada costs like 40,000, basically euro dollar is the same right now, and yeah, that's not even that luxury anymore. But photo video equipment and household appliance, that's wow. I didn't know that this is so severe, and it's gonna be so bad next year in this region, Russia and Belarus. because right now some stores, they still have goods. They're not gonna fucking have it next year, and I doubt that the countries will start trading again just next year. Yo, this is fucking insane. That's fucking insane. All right. And obviously, like phones, processors, laptops, that kind of thing. It's all like the imports into Russia of all of these things dropped significantly. And right now it's like some gray export as it's called, but actually, yeah, just export import in this case. Um, of those things goes through, some of it goes through Kazakhstan, for example, but even they apparently um, don't really want to do this, because I've seen this news that Takayev, the president of Kazakhstan, said that sorry, sanctions are sanctions. We can't deliver something. I forgot what it was. So even that will be difficult to do. It will be difficult to import into Russia. Damn, things are gonna, like, this is really back to USSR, where there's fucking nothing on the shelves of the stores, nothing on the shelves of, yeah, nothing on the shelves of the fucking stores. Damn. Yo, I fucking knew that it's gonna be fucking bad. I didn't know it's gonna be that bad. I mean, already I understood that sanctions will be severe and so on and so forth, but I didn't know that they are in place already, like that drastic in those particular consumer goods sectors. I was thinking more always about like economy, Russian economy in general, about oil, gas, metals, maybe like wood, so on and so forth. And I was thinking less of ban of consumer products. That's gonna be really bad. Um, Ministry of Finances, by the way, in July reported that that income from oil and gas in federal budget dropped 26%, and VAT taxes dropped 40%. Which, like, the deficit of the budget is already a third of the budget. That's July. That's only July. That's severe. That's insanely severe. Fucking clown called Shoigu, once again, Ministry of Defense of Offense of Russia, um, said that effectiveness of Western arms, of Western weapons that's been delivered to Ukraine is a myth. It's fake. Oh my god. And he said that HIMARSs are ineffective, and that oh my god, and that they Russians, that they've destroyed some of them. They've been reporting, like, I think when Ukraine had like 4 of the HIMARSs, um, Russian Ministry of Defense actually reported they've destroyed like 6 of them, something like that. It was just funny to see it, especially when you hear and see the news about all of these claps. How it's like in a newspeak, in Russian newspeak, it's called chlapok or clap, and yeah, somebody smoked cigarettes somewhere. We have lost like 8 or 9 um, airplanes, fighter jets. It's just like, yeah, of course, that's exactly how it happens. Or somebody like fucking said that, oh, there was like a little grass fire, and we couldn't like extinguish it quickly enough, and so like the weapons started to explode, and then everything else started to explode, the plane started to explode, and yeah, of course, like, who the fuck, like, this shit is like can fly only like with some pensioners who don't use internet ever, who don't understand anything at all. Like any sane individual would obviously say like, yeah, dude, just get the fuck out of here. Just be silent, like just be silent. Be silent like Lukashenko in Belarus. Just be silent. Don't say anything about it. Like, although even that cunt said something like, I think we reported it last time, that it was like an explosion of a tractor's engine or some shit like that. It's like, yeah, sure, dude, of course. Your speechwriters are the same as these kinds of speechwriters. Okay. All right. This is kind of a news on another level as well. Coal industry in Russia is again, a lot of industries in Russia will be really in the fucking dumpster after this invasion. And now let's talk about the coal industry. In the biggest coal minery, basically, they're pausing the extraction of coal in Kemerskoye Oblast. This is the main region in Russia. It's here on the map. Main region in Russia that's producing quite a lot of coal, apparently. They've stopped the extraction of coal, which is once again quite interesting. Apparently, Kemerskoye Oblast, Kemerovsky region, has been extracting up to stone coal. I'm not sure, like, this is the thing. Oh, just like that, anthracites. Okay, up to 60% of this stone coals, up to 80 cox, chark coal, probably. Yeah, and up to 100% of some other rare coal types, which is once again, it's going to be devastating for that region because on those factories, 91,000 people work there, and up to 20% of people, of working people, are actually working in those like mono cities that's been built around like some giant factory, some like mining operation, so on and so forth. Like it's like that. Like the cities exist around the whole world, right? Where like, yeah, it's like a mining town, basically, sort of like that. There's a factory there, and around the factory later grows the whole town. So up to 20% of the working people in the whole region working in those like mono cities. So mono towns, whatever you can call it. So yeah, if you can't sell coal, you can't pay fucking people. There's gonna be 90,000 people who soon, probably, maybe less, who was not gonna have job. I feel like some sort of uprising in Russia has to happen at some point. Like all those regions, like Kemerovskoye Oblast, right? Like, Kuzbas. What is Kuzbas? Yeah, it's just a city in Kemerovskoye Oblast. A lot of those regions that are like in the middle part of Russia, or like a far east part of Russia, they're really rich in like natural resources, in coal, in oil, in gas, and instead of like living on their own there as their own separate, basically, state, they have to and basically take all those resources for themselves, and like improve your own region. They have to send basically shit ton of money back to Moscow. Then from Moscow, they get like way less money back to their own regions, and Moscow basically takes giant cut to build fucking yachts for oligarchs and for fucking Kremlin's governmental fucking officials, so on and so forth, for chinovniki, for all of those fucking cons, and to start wars. Like, I just don't get, like, I feel like those regions have to, at some point, start organizing, because Russia is big. Russia is not Belarus. If Belarus has like 50k or 100,000 of like army or policemen or some sort of special fucking forces, something like that, intelligence cunts, like those regions in the central parts of Russia or eastern parts of Russia, there's not gonna be that many policemen there. At some point, I think the people have to realize that they could be living way, 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 way better, um, way better if they don't send all this money to fucking Kremlin. And this is related to this Russian coal is being sold right now into China for half the cost. Half the cost. It's been the same with oil when the Russian barrels of oil cost $30 less than other oil, like Brent, right? Russian is Urals, general is the Brent one. So that is being sold for big discount, and now coal has been sold for big discount as well. So like, cool, I guess. In only 1 month, like 1 month, July. We're talking about July? I think we're talking about July. Because they've been exporting these things to China, coal industry didn't get additional $1.3 billion compared to what they could have, if not for this giant discount. And of course, like you could think, like, yeah, China doesn't really sanction properly Russia, so on and so forth. And they're selling cars like we discussed, and they're buying coal, they're buying oil, so on and so forth. But if you have such a giant discount, like you would be stupid not to use it. Kind of this situation, basically. Um, I mean, if you have morals, you wouldn't do it, and you would actually, especially because it's Russia. Like, why would you need strong Russia if you're China, for example? Um, but yeah, they're just using it, basically. They're just using it for their own advantages, and yeah. And also, this news. I've had this news somewhere that them. Anyway, that insurance, they like giant marine insurance international group of P&A clubs, international group of private insurers, something like that. They will not be insuring basically ships that come from Russia with Russian coal or something like that. Or even they're not going to even insure European ships if they've been taking Russian coal to get it to some third world country, not even in European Union. So it's just like total embargo on Russian coal. Granted, Russian coal has never been like a giant. I mean, it is kind of big industry. I think like $8 billion, something like that, in Russia, around that. But that's nothing compared to oil and gas, especially gas, but oil as well. So although it's big money, once again, to the Russian budget, is not so severe. It's not going to be so severe as limiting gas and oil, which Europe is still fucking around. But the fact that this international group of insurers insures almost 90% of any insurance services in the world, marine transportation, that's severe. That's basically like nobody can take Russian coal to get it to some third world country. Not third world, but like third party country, besides Europe. So yeah, that basically means that you can't use marine transportation, marine shipments anymore for coal. which means the industry is gonna be fucking dead once again. Once, like, you can sell only so much of coal to China with discounts before your own factories and your own industry goes to shit. For now, you can do it. For now, you can pay some amount of money to your own workers and so on and so forth. But once again, it's gonna last only for so long. So yeah. All right. There's been a big article. I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of it. Several articles in Washington Post about the fact how Russian FSB, Russian intelligence services, basically fucked up the invasion of Ukraine. It's available in English if you want to read it. I'm gonna include the links, and yeah, you better read just that, because I feel like everybody's talked about it by this time, so I kind of don't want to waste time on this anymore, because it's just it's just insane once again to see how incompetent even intelligence services in Russia. Like, listen, they've been like a little poll questionnaire, right? Like, are you ready to defend Ukraine in case of necessity? And it's been like the questionnaire was like, in general yes, in general no, or I'm uncertain. And Ukraine overall, in general, 48% people said in general yes, 12% said I don't know, and about 40% said in general no. So half of the Ukraine said that they will be defending Ukraine. And apparently FSB, Russian intelligence services, thought that, wow, only half of the people in Ukraine will actually defend Ukraine. Like, what the fuck? We can actually invade. While you should have taken it as like a holy fucking shit, up to 20 million of people ready to defend their fucking country. Not fucking their country, Because in Ukraine it's like 40, whatever, 44, 42 million people, let's say 40 million people. Almost half of them are ready to defend. But apparently, Russian FSB thought, oh, wow, only half of them? That's cool. Let's go. And then they've tried, obviously, if you haven't read it, if you haven't read the article, read it, because there's so much shit that's like, it's just like insane that intelligence services can be so brain dead. Once again, you expect being absolutely fucking stupid out of your mind from like Russian like oligarchs or from politicians, cunts like that. But like intelligence services, there's the word intelligence. Like, it's almost like intellect, but apparently not. Apparently very, very different words. So yeah, I really suggest to read those several articles, especially because United States was warning Russia that the consequences will be catastrophic for all of you, for your economy, for your country. And Shoigu, once again, that fucking cunt, Minister of Offense in Russia, said that Russians can suffer like no other. Russian nation can suffer like no other Russian people. I'm like, wow. Amazing. Are you fucking suffering much in your giant mansions? Are you suffering much? This is his mansion. This is a minister of a fucking defense in Russia. That's his like a Japanese style mansion. I doubt he's suffering much on his several hectares of fucking land in a house like that. The house worth of like $18 million on a piece of land worth $9 million. Yeah, probably not really suffering much. While his children are all abroad, actually, which is, once again, Europe is fucking insane that they want to ban visas and nullify visas for regular Russians, and yet cunts like this, like, he is under sanctions, but his family, his daughter, for example, not under sanctions. Why? I don't know. Psst. This is his house. This is a minister of defense, you guys, in Russia. All right. Okay. Interesting news about the alcohol. In the previous episode, I've been talking that the production of alcohol is dropping inside of Russia. I think like 10 to 15%, or even 20%, depends on the particular type of alcohol. But now also, the fact is that a lot of brands have exited Russia altogether. Pernod Ricard, which sold Chivas Regal, Jameson, Absolute, Diageo, Bell's, Johnny Walker, Captain Morgan, Bailey's, Bacardi, Dewars, William Lawson's, Jack Daniels, Moet Hennessy. All those like good brands, basically. Every good brand basically exited. Jim Beam, I don't see Jim Beam here, but yeah. And the prices already... the price is already up 70%. So not even good alcohol is available anymore. One interesting piece of news is that the daughter of the Russian senator actually basically protested against the war and exited the country, apparently. Apparently she was like into the protest movement, and she was voicing her opinion against the war, and apparently she had sort of like a fight or an argument, I guess, with his father. Yeah, basically her father said that that she's the enemy of the family, enemy of the people, and that she's a criminal, and said that she should leave the house where she lived, where apparently either with them or in his house, something like that. And then later he said that she's not the fucking daughter to him anymore. That's also the tragedy of this war, because I know even from my own experience that this is sort of the conversations that happen in families right now. That people who understand that wars cannot be justified, not exactly, especially not like this, not this war, and families are basically being torn apart because older generation thinks that, who probably watches like a lot of fucking, I don't know, brain dead TV or some shit like that, I don't know, who just like can't use their brain anymore. They think that somehow this war is anything justifiable, and normal people think that this is not. So yeah, families are being kind of torn apart in a way, which is, I mean, I don't think she would be happy like talking to people like that anyway, and it just happened to be her father and her family. So good for her if she can, good for her, because she can actually get out of Russia and then actually very publicly say that I'm against the war and like fuck these cunts and fuck everything. Yeah. Eduard Isakov, that's the father. That's the father of this daughter. He's a senator of Khanty-Mansiysk autonomous region. Khanty-Mansiysk is, once again, like those regions, like they are on the map in the middle of Russia, or like eastern part of Russia. These are quite rich regions with natural resources. If they stop sending this all everything that they fucking that they extract, any money that they get from the natural resources that they have here. If they stop sending it to fucking Moscow, they're gonna be so much better off. But yeah, hopefully it's gonna happen. Hopefully it's gonna happen at some point in this or next year, that Russia just collapses into 12, wherever, 20 more different separated republics. Okay. I just read it and it's just like amazing. Um, there's this list in Russia of socio important websites, something like that, and for like that are in free access, basically. I guess that like mobile providers basically will not charge you if your traffic goes to those websites, which is Vkontakte, VK, or it's like a clone of Facebook, and Gosuslugi, which is like a governmental services, quite literally translates like that. And yeah, that's it. 2 websites, which is really interesting because I feel like Russia is still preparing to potentially ban the internet, like ban the outside internet, or make it at least like very hard for people to use it, because right now already like Facebook and Instagram is banned in Russia, so to use them you need to use VPN. And this is not to mention a lot of websites like BBC, like Deutsche Welle, I think CNN maybe as well, like Media Zona, a lot of like basically independent or oppositionist website, or just those who speak up the truth about Russia, about their corruption, invasion, this war, and so on and so forth. So a lot of them already been banned, and the fact that it's like VK and Gosuslugi, which is like, I feel like that, and I've also seen the news yesterday that some people are working right now on creating like Russian Wikipedia, which is potentially, I feel like, because Wikipedia is like one of those resources that that's not been banned. I'm pretty sure right now, despite whatever they're writing there about the invasion, so on and so forth, because there's just like such a massive resource, like YouTube and Wikipedia, such massive resources that I feel like banning them, the people in power, the people in Kremlin, Putin, they probably fear that if they ban those 2 resources, they can actually start like the real uprising in Russia. I mean, it sounds pretty fucking stupid that, okay, you have your country rages the war against another country, absolutely unjustified, so on and so forth, and what will do it for you? It's going to be YouTube, yeah, and Wikipedia. But those are so important, such important resources that it actually can. And so I feel like they might be working right now on the replacement for Wikipedia, at least like, transfer some articles probably just in Russian, because Russian Wikipedia always way lower quality than English speaking Wikipedia, for example. And especially in terms of like, if it's about some conflicts, so on and so forth, especially when Russia is involved, Russian Wikipedia is like extremely biased towards like nationalistic, imperialistic Russian things, because I guess like moderators, editors of Russian Wikipedia are often, slightly imperialistic cunts. I don't know. In English Wikipedia, almost always it's more like neutral. Things written are in way more neutral language, almost always. So yeah, I feel like Wikipedia might also enter this list, like Russian Wikipedia, the clone of it, might enter this list one day. And because there is this website called Rutube, not YouTube, Rutube. It's like nowhere near close to like the level of YouTube. Not even close. It's not even like 10% of how good YouTube is. But I feel like at some point, if kind of some sort of resistance start to mount in Russia, they could actually just ban it, because a lot of people watch YouTube, watch the opposition channel on YouTube channels, and that could be a way to coordinate people. That's exactly what happened in 2020 in Belarus. The dictator just cut off the internet almost completely. Almost no resources were working. YouTube was blocked for several days, maybe even weeks. And the only thing that was working was Telegram, actually, and even that often via proxy servers. But I feel like because a lot of sort of this technology of how to suppress the crowds and how to oppress people, how to control them, and so on and so forth, was basically tested in Belarus before it's been implemented in Russia. I feel like that could be as well something that, like, on one like switch of the button, Russia could actually cut off Russians from the internet. Because a lot of it still goes through like several key data centers, so like national data centers. At least in Belarus, it is like that. I feel in Russia it's more spread out, but I feel like still giant portions of traffic goes through those like national data centers, or like just giant like fiber optical lines, that connect like, basically Russia to Europe, and they could be turned off if that's like a appropriate definition of how it's done. Okay, that's just a bit worrisome news because once again, internet is this one tool that's literally created revolutions, and it's just so powerful that losing it can create huge ramifications for anybody and everybody. Head of MCS, which is basically Ministry of what is the emergency situations? Ministry of Emergency Situations. Basically said that reported that they don't have enough of equipment for firefighters, for example, and in Russia, they cannot create those things by themselves. They cannot buy like the radios, for example, surge systems of emergency alerts of like those alarms that cities have to like announce something to people. They don't have in Russia. They don't have small internal combustion engines for something like drones or something like unmanned vehicles that could like patrol some areas, like if for example if it's a fire or something like that, right? You want to stick a camera, put some sort of little plane or something like that up in the air and just surveil the areas to understand how big it is, how it's spreading, so on and so forth. They don't have like electric generation and emergency saving tools even in Russia. They don't even create like individual protection that we can like see just in general images of firefighters, and because it's like 100% of imported components. Especially they can't even produce the helmets because helmets are 100% made from ABS plastic, which is almost all foreign. So that's like that's worrisome. That's really worrisome. That even such an important agency, such an important basically as an agency inside of your government, like firefighters, like 911 would be that kind of a thing. Even they are like really extremely dependent on everything foreign imported or components that maybe later they can create something inside of Russia, but the components are imported and materials are imported, so on and so forth, and they are just reliant on imports. I mean, it's once again, it's going to be really bad in just near future. and because it is such a game of broken telephone between the real economy, the real people, um, then like even the heads of the regions, and then between Moscow, and then even in Moscow between like fucking just people who can understand things in Moscow, and then between Kremlin and actually Putin. There's so many levels of broken telephone that Putin probably thinks that Russia is the greatest country on earth and they do everything and they're fucking amazing because everybody reports that garbage to him because they all fear for the consequences if he, I don't know, gets mad, upset, whatever. They get fired, they can't steal anymore because any governmental job is an opportunity, or slightly higher up governmental job is an opportunity to steal exorbitant amount of money. Once again, you can just open the Navalny YouTube channel and just look at the amount of corruption videos, corruption investigative videos they've done on a shit ton of Russian politicians. Not even like super oligarchs with shit ton of money, just politicians. They're supposed to earn like whatever, like I don't know, 10 grand a month or something like that, which would be of course still giant money. There's a amount of money, but you can't buy $10 million house or some shit like that on money like that. It's just impossible, and yet a lot of them do it. So it's just corruption all the way through, and so they all lie, they all pretend, they all fucking bullshit. It's the same shit is happening in China, by the way. If you had never seen videos from Lao from ADV China channels, just take a look. The two guys are fucking talking and explaining exactly what's happening in China, for example. Which is I'm just like saying about this right now is because it's really similar to what how things are done in Russia as well. Like if you're in a governmental job, you can steal a lot of money, and that's sort of your career staircase in a way. And so, yeah, you don't want to. You're fearing that Putin or some other fucking cunt will demote you, will fire you from that place, and stealing is no more. And that's just Russia for you. All right. Apparently, Ministry of Agriculture wants to create a fine system for those agricultures who do not report basically of their harvests into informational system called the zerno or grain, or who are put in their fake information. I didn't know that such system exists, but apparently everyone who is from 1st of September, so just in a few days, if you are producing some grain, you would have to right now it's sort of right now it is on voluntary basis, and from the 1st of September you would have to report this the amount of grains that you've harvested into this informational system. And apparently more than 90% of producers of grains, more than 41,000 producers, including like smaller farms and so on, they've been already signed into the system. That's really interesting, actually. I mean, like a lot of things like that. Like when you think about Russia or Belarus, I think a lot of people, like when you compare these countries, like which are very obviously bad authoritarian dictatorship pieces of just garbage of countries. Sometimes in terms of like informatization, I think you can call it, of certain like industries or certain spheres of economy, these countries, like again Russia, Belarus, Ukraine as well, they've been like on top of the game. Like almost all like pensioners and most of the people, working people in Belarus, have like a debit card where they've been where they're paid money, their salary, while like United States doesn't have like a contactless, how's it called, contactless payments terminals in like 60 or 70% of the facilities. It's like, what the fuck? At least those those information, the data I've read like 2-3 years ago. Maybe now it's better, but the fact it's like either cash only or just this magnetic card with a stripe that you can't just tap, so on and so forth. Like a lot of things in terms of automation, in terms of like digitalizing and yeah, are done in Russia and in Belarus on like way higher scale than in like countries that you would think would be way ahead. Like again, a lot of countries in Europe, Germany, France, UK, whatever, United States, so on and so forth. So on one hand, it's interesting, but on the other hand, obviously, once again, now people could be sanctioned for that or fined, sorry, for that, and also obviously in terms of your salaries and so on and so forth, if it comes only on that card. Government obviously can track it way easier than if we're talking about cash or some other things. So I understand that a lot of it is done for controlling people. Yeah. Okay. State Duma, which is like a parliament in Russia, has now, well, they didn't vote for it, I don't think, but one person called Andrei Kuznetsov from the party of Justice Russia or something like that, put in motion initiative to basically legalize stealing of movies and music, which is done because a lot of like a lot of, I mean, I think all of them actually, movie theaters, like giant movie studios, right? They've exited Russia, and so right now, basically, there's another industry that's basically dead in Russia right now. Industry of movie going, theaters, cinema theaters, that is, and obviously, surrounding, sales of, like cola or so on and so forth, those little things. It's dead right now, and yeah, they're thinking about legalizing basically stealing, which some people who actually understand things say that this is a diversion and a catastrophe, because obviously those, like especially those studios and cinema theaters, right? Like you can't just steal their things and just play it, because all of those like digital projectors, they all have their own ways how to make sure that nothing illegal will be played there. They all of those systems can be controlled remotely and so on and so forth. So you can't like just say that shit, right? And you can't just like plug a fucking USB drive there and play whatever you downloaded from like Rootraker or like Pirate Bay or some shit like that. Some people don't understand this apparently, and so yeah, people who do understand this, they're saying like it would be a real fucking catastrophe if that kind of shit actually gets through the Parliament Duma, and if it's getting into a law, and it can destroy for years and years basically the industry, because it's been last like maybe 5-10 years when people actually started to use online cinema theaters, started to use streaming music, started buying music, buying movies, and so on and so forth, even digital, and now it's all been basically destroyed once again. It's another market, another part of the economy has been absolutely obliterated by this war, because it's just like 5 companies: Universal, Warner's, Walt, Sony, Paramount. You exit the market, 95% of movies are created or distributed by one of those companies. There's still like smaller, like A24, right? I don't know about them, but yes, they produce them or distribute great movies, great like indie movies, lower budget movies, but you remove Universal, Disney, Warner, Sony, and Paramount, that boom, like I'm saying, 95% of the movies not in your country anymore, and that's exactly what's happened. So yeah, once again, once again, those who started this war, they are absolute brain dead fucking cunts who did not see anything of that coming, even though they've been warned. They've been warned. Um, Government of Russia switches to planned economy in 4 industries. Planned economy. So we are really back into USSR right now. I mean, like it once. It didn't do it yet, but they're thinking about it because they're saying that we're not going to create anything at all if we don't do this. Which is kind of a maybe don't start wars, maybe like stop the war, pay reparations, send your people to repair buildings for free for Ukraine, so on and so forth. Do that, and then maybe after like 5-10 years, people will start, talking to you again, and then, and then maybe you will be able to do something. But okay, so what are the industries? Aviation. That's the first one. Because I mean, this is insane. Okay, aviation. Even the most kind of a successful, in air quotes, Russian project, Sukhoi Superjet, was half of it was, or not even half, like probably more than half of it was the uh, French side of it, including the engines. So that's that. Okay, how are you gonna create till 2030? Total. How are you gonna switch totally from the foreign airplanes to your own? 2030 in 8 years, really? In 7 years, basically. Don't believe it. I don't believe it. Okay, then it is shipbuilding. Shipbuilding, because Norway was given, well, not given, selling engines for icebreakers, for example. Germany was providing compressors for what is the I fucking knew that name, LNG, liquid gas, liquid LNG, is it? No, not LNG, just liquid gas tankers. Um, then pharmaceutical industry as well. Um, I didn't know this, that apparently the uh, Russia does not create any, or almost no um, machinery tools that actually can create later, pills, whatever the fuck. All of those like high tech things, they were just bought. They were never, nothing was created in Russia. So aviation, shipbuilding, pharmaceutical, and the fourth one is basically just creating of equipment, just in general, like creating of equipment. I don't understand like what exactly does it mean, but I mean that's basically what you need, right? To create anything in any industry, you first need a machine that would be able to create certain tools, certain just things, parts, and yeah. Apparently, oh my god, this is insane. This is insane. This is Vice Premier Denis Manturov. This is head of Ministry of Industry and Trade. So that's like quite a fucking serious agency in Russia. Quite a serious part of Russian government. He's saying that Russia uh, has to basically has to abandon free market politics when it comes to the industry, when it comes to the manufacturing. Even China can't do it. Even China, who's been like stealing and reworking shit ton of like Western equipment, even they cannot do it like fully yet. And Russia will be able to do it. Yeah, sure, of course. And by the way, like obviously, for those who don't live in Russia, who don't like hear any news about that kind of stuff from Russia, they've been talking about импортозамещение, it's called in Russian, import substitution. Basically, from 2014 at least, even more. What it means by import substitution is that, well, it's exactly how it's called, how it sounds. That instead of importing things, especially important things like again, some tools, some machinery, heavy machinery that manufactures either other machinery or manufactures parts, details, so on and so forth. We need to, instead of importing it, we need to produce it on our own, by ourselves. But you know what's the problem? Is that if you import those things, you can steal a shit ton of money. Very easily, very quickly. That's exactly what all of those cunts were doing in the past 10, 15, 20 years. They were just stealing money. That's it. To create something, you actually need professionals. You actually need to create wish for that professionals to actually work for you. You not only need to pay good salaries, but you need to create a country, a region where people would want to live instead of leave. Because people who have brains, they're just living right now. They're not living in fucking Russia. They're living and they're becoming good engineers in Germany, in France, UK, Norway, Canada, US, you name it. Australia, you name it. And sure, a lot of people work in manufacturing jobs in Russia. These are not the people who will be building you amazing manufacturing tools. Very precise, very complex. These are people who are working on a conveyor belt, putting two bolts together to assemble a door. That's not the same level of sophistication that you need to create those kind of things that you were importing right now from Germany, from France, from Norway, etc., etc. So the fact that they want to do this and the fact that they think they will be able to do this, bonkers. They've never, ever in the history of this fucking country, in the history of old Soviet Union, they've never been able to substitute imports. The best they could do is probably take some tool, some manufacturing tool, machinery, and maybe copy and use it till the end of time, like a technology from like 50 years ago or something like that. I've heard news that a lot of I've read it, that a lot of machinery that was basically taken from Germany and imported into Soviet Union in like after the war, basically after the Second World War, World War II. Those machines worked up to like 1990s, even 2000s in certain factories. So machines that Germans made like 70, 80 years ago, they were still using those machines. Instead of creating something new in Russia by themselves, even copying those machines. Nope. So it's not gonna fucking happen ever, because Russia is based on corruption and personal gains. Because all those cunts, that was the strategy for all those cunts for 20, 30, 50 years. Still here, steal money from Russian people, from exports, expropriate money, do it all in most fucking shady ways possible, and then buy property, buy things, buy citizenships in Europe, in United States, get birth to your children in United States so they can get citizenship by default, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. That's been the whole strategy of all those cons. They will never create anything here because they cannot create anything. They can only steal. There's absolutely different types of people. Atlas Shrugged. Ayn Rand wrote the book basically about that. If people haven't read Atlas Shrugged, or if they don't understand just how corrupt Russia, how corrupt that layer of people who don't do anything, bureaucrats, useless fucking bureaucrats who don't do anything, they just steal, they appropriate what's not theirs, they take credit for what's not theirs to credit, and so on and so forth. Like, that's what that book is written about. And she was living in USSR, and then she escaped it, and so she had the fucking experience exactly about this. This is why that book like really resonated with me. For example, while I know that a lot of like leftist people in Western countries, they don't get it, they don't understand that book. They've never lived where she lived, and they don't quite understand. But that book is fucking powerful. Atlas Shrugged, very fucking powerful, and still very, very relevant about Russia. All right, almost all banks in Russia have lost access to the operations with dollars and euros. We kind of mentioned it before that obviously banks are expelled from SWIFT system, and yeah, this is just the little news exactly about that. Banks can't even like they don't have the ability. They don't have corresponding accounts in the Western banks to actually do any operations with foreign currencies, like sending money to somebody, or receiving money, and so on and so forth. Which is kind of sucks because JP Morgan, for example, said that Russian clients will not be able to use their corresponding accounts, besides Gazprombank, that actually takes the money from sales of gas, for example, which is like, again, you're punishing regular people, but you allow money flow immediately to the Russian government that those money will be used for weapons, for killing Ukrainian people. Very cynical. Once again, I understand you can't like completely cut out the gas and oil, so on and so forth, because Europe is fucking brain dead. I have been for the fucking past 8 years, and actually strengthened its dependency on Russia, not weakened it. And so they've put themselves into the situation. Nonetheless, still very hypocritical, in my opinion, still fucking very shitty. News once again about the retail market, that shopping malls, what is it? Attendance, yeah. Amount of people basically who are going to shopping malls right now. 10% less than in 2021. 20% less than, or basically 20% less than in 2020 and 2019. We discussed that people are buying up to like 40% less, and it kind of reflects the same, obviously. And we also talked in the previous episode that a lot of shopping malls will have to either close or drastically shrink, because again, a lot of those giant like anchor brands like H&M, for example, something like that, like Zara, someone like that, they exited Russia. And I think the contracts are being made like that, or have been made like that you have to pay like for 6 months. So if some brands like exited in August, right, they still will be paying for the next 6 months, so till the end of the year. Somebody who exited like in July or June, for example, or like April, somewhere there, might already stop paying here right now, in July and August. But some of them who just exited it, they will still be paying till the end of the year for their rent, even though they don't sell anything there. And then they'll just drop the contracts. They just drop the payments. And after after this new year, after in 2023, those giant shopping malls will look very bleak in Russia, very bleak. If nothing obviously changes before that, if Putin doesn't die or isn't won't get killed or something like that, if Russia won't lose the war, basically, if nothing major changes, the 2023 will be a really bad year for Russians and Belarusians, I'm assuming too. And this is exactly about this, that even in 2025, Russian economy will not restore its strength up to the before war levels. GDP will be less from, well, again, like GDP as well as like unemployment statistics right now in Russia doesn't mean much, because you're getting a lot of money from gas and oil. Still, you still will be getting some money even in 2023. And considering that the prices on gas and oil are quite high, even though like Russia is selling oil with discount, gas quite high prices. And so just based on GDP, you could say that everything is good. It's the same as like looking at the Russian exchange rate compared to dollar or euro. And if you're just looking at it and it's been better than before war, you don't understand the economy, you don't understand what's happening. And the fact that we're talking right now, just in this episode, we're talking about the households are dropping their sales up to 40%. Car industry dead, coal industry is dying, airplane industry dead. What else was there? Basically, medication is even right now is in the risk category. Production of medication, pharmaceutical stuff like that. Everything is dropping, and yet you're telling me that dropping by like 10%, 15, 20%, and yet you're telling me that GDP is going to shrink 2 to 7%. Really? How does this compute? And it computes only because you're just calculating it wrong. Like you're not showing the real statistics. You're showing something that is basically like elevated because of some not real factors. Like just because you created this bubble, basically inflated this bubble of prices in Europe, and then you are displaying that, oh look, our GDP will be great. Like those money that come from sales of gas, for example, Russian people will not see it. It's going to be once again oligarchs and all those cunts in the government who will benefit from it, and Russian war machine. Regular people will be struggling to buy even the basic food, and I talked about it once again a week or two before, that up to 15 millions of people in Russia are on the poverty level or even below poverty level. 20 million people can only buy like some necessity. They can't even buy proper amount of like food and clothes, for example. What are you fucking talking about? What GDP 2% dropped? Like, this is like total collapse. It's happening already. So yeah, this is just like when you see the numbers like that, you gotta really understand what's going on, because just looking at GDP or just looking at the exchange rate tells you nothing if you don't look what's underneath those that data, those numbers. Okay. Another one adding into the group of companies that will exit the Russian market is the German company Henkel, and it's going to be selling Belarusian and Russian assets. So yeah, apparently they just decided, like, fuck it, yeah, we're gonna lose 180 million euros, including 90 million euros, almost 90 million euros, as basically reputation costs. That's really interesting. And they're gonna be losing 96 million, almost 100 million, in factories, in the land, in the equipment, in the intellectual property. And who's gonna lose? Of course, Russian and Belarusian people will lose, because 11 factories in Russia. So that's already like a lot of people who will not really get work, or a lot of them will not get work. And then the brands that they've been selling under. These are like, I'm just looking at it, and this is just total should be 50 brands, but this is like 20 or something, 10 even. Persil, Losk, Danny, Laska, Pemas, Pimalux, Brev, Vernel, Moment, Keresit, Methylan, Schwarzkopf, Sio, Shamtu, Schauma, Taft, Palette, like these are Gliscour, Fa. Almost all of this I've heard of. Almost all of them I've used at some point, or like half of them, even these that I just said, half of them I've used at least. Some of them, like right now in my room, not in the room, in the flat. And if Henkel is gonna exit this region, it's gonna be devastation, because I am pretty sure it's like this with McDonald's, Starbucks, wherever. Yeah, maybe like you can sort of keep the quality on the same level for like a month, maybe 2 months, in the period of like 6 months to a year, and after that the quality is going to be going into shit, most likely, because Russians cannot do fucking quality control properly without supervision of actual international organization. And then we're talking, of course, about the fact that whoever is going to be buying this, they're not going to keep all of the workers. They're not going to be keeping all of the manufacturing running at the same capacity. So basically, I'm pretty sure, I can bet on this, it's not going to be the same as it's right now. And so who's going to lose? It's going to be regular people, because a lot of those brands are not super expensive. They're actually quite cheap, and they're quite effective. They're pretty decent. And yeah, it's like either is going to be all those products going to get more expensive, or some of them will just disappear, and both of them are going to be affecting those people who don't have a lot of money to spend to begin with. And that's just tragic. That's really tragic. All right. And while I'm talking about this, about the fact that giant brands, German brands, are exiting the country, Alisher Usmanov, one of the richest oligarchs in Russia, one of the cunts that has basically stolen from Russian people a shit ton of money through his companies, and again through his ties with Kremlin and so on and so forth. He's getting preferential treatment for taxes, for some kind of benefits, exemptions, and oh my god, Premier Minister Mikhail Mishustin, premier of the fucking Russian government, is saying that we will take a look, what can we do to this very respectable gentleman. And they basically, apparently, they will give him zero taxes on the income, or potentially they will give him zero taxes, at the time, once again, when Russian economy is going into shit, when Russian people will get less and less money, this cunt will pay zero taxes, most likely, because if prime fucking minister of the country, basically like second or third face in the whole country after Putin and maybe after like one more cunt. He's saying that we're gonna think about the preferential regime for this person. How? Just like, how do you supposed to do anything in that country if you are not corrupt, corrupt fuck? Hmm? You basically, you don't, zero taxes on your profits, on your income, on your profits in this case, because income is more about individuals, on your profits, right? You don't have to pay land tax. You don't have to, or it's like very small tax on the immovable property, right? On real estate. And yeah, внебюджетный fund is like extra budgetary funds. I'm not sure what it means. Is it yeah, basically taxes that would go into like local budgets. It's just it's reduced to just 7%, 7.6. I'm not sure from which though, from which amount. But in any case, they're talking about nullifying his taxes or making it very low at the time when the whole Russia is going to shit. Mwah. Brilliant fucking moves from Russia. That just shows you just how corrupt it is. And something that I wanted to talk before, even last week, that Siloviki, I think people should know this word already in English right now. Silovik is it's a kind of it's not even a jargon word so much. It's just like the combine like an overall sort of name for person who works like in army, in police, in like some intelligence service, some shit like that, right? Like in Russia. So Silavik. So they are hunting right now. Hunting maybe a bit stronger word, but at least like trying to search in jail basically. Those who have some like Telegram channels, certain Telegram channels. Not sure which one, but apparently, yeah. Like if you have like some anonymous Telegram channel, and basically if it's getting like larger and larger, often this cunts will try to find you and then yeah, jail you, fine you. Fine you is a good outcome of this. Jail you most likely. Um, yeah, I'm not sure like if there's really like because they're saying that those people in this like Telegram channel, some people in certain Telegram channels, they've been basically extorting some money from like top managers of banks. I don't buy this really. I don't really buy this because it's Russia. It's more likely that yeah, somebody said something bad about some, top high up fucking manager or again like Silavik or somebody in some oligarch, whatever, and then they're getting punished for this. Most likely, I would bet on that um, rather than the people actually trying to extort money. Yeah. And that's exactly that, actually. In the Telegram channel, VČK OGPU, almost 440,000 subscribers and followers, and often information is being published about Russian silovikach and about chinovnik, which is just official bureaucrat, basically. But silovik and chinovnik, this is two words that should be in English language, basically, because they describe quite perfectly exactly who those people are. That's yeah, what I would bet on as well. Okay, I have just like few more like little news, but I don't think I've got anything really important, to be honest. And so I feel like to be honest, we can already quit here, because I've talked about Washington Post reports, and so yeah. Yeah, do you know what? We're done for today. We actually yeah, only one thing I wanted to actually talk more about is that what's called Следственный комитет in Belarus, investigative committee or some shit like that. From 2020, has created more than 11,000 criminal cases about extremism. And first of all, it's like a criminal case, so it's not just a fine, or if it's a fine, it's a really big fine. But in general, it is jail time, basically. And that's 11,000 cases. And what it means is that people have been posting some comments in like a Telegram channel, or they've been just subscribed to Telegram channel, or they have been protesting in, once again, 2020 in August, against this regime. They've sent like a link on like social media, like a VK or something like that, link to, once again, some article that's talking about, in this case, Belarusian Siloviki or something like that, about the repressions, about the dictators, about the regime, so on and so forth. Anybody who's done it under their own name, stupidly, because you should never do that, but they're being prosecuted. 11,000 cases. So it is at least 11,000 people whose lives were ruined. That is a lot. That is a lot of people for 8.5, like something like that, million country. That's a lot of people, and that just shows you how the oppressive regime works here. And because it is like 99.9% of cases, you know, how's it called? Incriminatory. Basically, 99% of cases, you will be found guilty. You'll be found guilty. Basically, if you get a case against you in Belarus, you're guilty. You can't do anything because there is no courts here, no independent courts here. It's just a fucking circus. Yeah. Just wanted to end on this note because once again, people who have never lived in countries like this, who don't understand just how brutal the regime is and how easy it is to get yourself into giant troubles, well, yeah, this is how it is. And apparently, almost 80% of Belarusian people who were protesting actually been exiled. They left the country, which is good that so many people have been able to actually leave the country. But at the same time, these are the people who are the most vocal. These are the people who actually want change for this country, and they've been exiled because the option is either you leave the country and save your life, or you've been put into prison and you've been beaten probably every day, torture, sexual violence, rapes. All of this exists, and then some people just die there. Like, it's nothing new really about it. And yeah, just pathetic. Just pathetic. It's really sad, and that's the reality of living in Belarus. That's the reality that a lot of people don't understand. That you really like. There's a lot of police. There's a lot of intelligence kind of this services, KGB, and they really silence the opposition very quickly. So, yeah. All right. That's been our episode today. And I'll see you next week. Hope you have a decent time. Take care of yourself and be smart, be curious. Don't believe everything that Russia propaganda spreads across Europe in the news and so on and so forth. Democracy is even a bad democracy is way better than good fucking autocracy or dictatorship. Never fucking forget it, because some people who live in the West really sometimes forget this kind of a little quite obvious thing. All right. Take care.